It's being discussed. Jordan's a very good football player. Had a much better year 2 years ago. Obviously had some setbacks injury-wise this year. It affected his production. But that's certainly on the table being discussed. But it still falls back to when you work in a cap environment that it's got to be the right player first, but just as important, it's got to be the right price. The door hasn't closed, or whatever cliche you want to use. That's not that we're open to him coming back. I know he's spoken a lot on the subject. But it's a situation where we're going to weigh all of our options here. We're going to weigh all of our options in free agency, and certainly didn't want to close that door. But at the end of the year, it's tough. I think most guys are sick of seeing each other and want to get out of town. And I did have a good meeting with Brian. And to me, he and I have always been very open, very honest with each other. So that meeting was no different. Not much. He wasn't really working with him. I know some reports are out there that he was doing playbook stuff with him. Kevin doesn't even know our offense yet. So it was a situation where we felt we were doing the right thing. That he interviewed him, offered him the job, and he said, "Hey, listen, I gave some young men my word that I would work with them to prepare them for the combine, and he wanted to honor that commitment. It's a very important time of their life, and they trusted him with that responsibility, and that's the kind. Anybody that knows Kevin knows he's that kind of guy. So I didn't look at it in any way as we're gaining some advantage because he's doing some drill work and some classroom work with these quarterbacks. I just looked at it as here's a guy with integrity who wants to fulfill a commitment that he made, and we were more than willing to sit back and wait till the time was right to bring him on board. One, the changes on the offensive staff we're very optimistic about. Personally, I spoke on this when we hired Flip. That I'm very rejuvenated. I think we are as a coaching staff. The opportunity to self-assess and look to get better for me to immerse myself on the offensive side. Feel very positive about it. Defensively, we're a year into the system. We know our players much better. We know what our strengths are, and more importantly, what our shortcomings are. We're in the process now of going through the tape, making corrections, all the self-scout stuff. And we feel we return a lot of pieces. That if we can get a handful of positions right, then when you look at it, we were sitting at 7-4 at one point and playing pretty good football, and then for a lot of reasons the bottom fell out and certainly didn't finish the way that we wanted to, but there's still momentum to take from that, you'd be surprised at how positive the feelings are, not just in the coaching area, but around the building about the Browns moving forward. I know that feeling's not shared by many outside of the building, but if I had to choose one, that's how I would prefer it to be. Well, I just think as a coach, especially as a head coach, when you're in a leadership position, you can't get overly emotional. You can't overreact to things, and I just feel like I've always had the ability to compartmentalize. And when you're in a game week, you don't have much time other than focusing on the current opponent to worry about much anyway. So, like I said, when you're in that in-season mode, each week is like in its own box, and then you're on to the next one. No, I think a lot of positives come from the last month. I know Jimmy spoke about the retreat that we all went on, and we came out of it much better as an organization, much more on the same page. I think in year one you end up kind of flying by the seat of your pants a little bit and feeling your way, and year two you get to settle down and take a look back at year one. And to me, the most upsetting thing to me about this month has been the depiction of Jimmy-Haslam. And I know some people are going to say this, hey, this is a guy that just, this is the guy that signs his check, so he's going to pump him up. But he's been depicted as a guy that that has been meddlesome and involved in a lot of decisions, and that hasn't been the case at all. Was not involved in any draft decisions. Was not involved in any playing time decisions. That he's been the ultimate, we talk about it as servant leadership. What do you need for us to get better? And I can't think of one instance where we've asked for something and he said no. So he's very inquisitive. He wants to know a lot what's going on. But for us as a coaching staff in year one, I mean, he was outstanding. Well, what we did when the season ended, and we had to do it again this year on offense, was was go through each position, kind of give the position attributes. You know, in Flip's offense, what's he looking for in an X receiver? What's he looking for in a slot? What do the tight ends look like? What does the fullback look like? So it's a situation where we give them the information of what we're looking for. We prioritize our needs, and then we go on from there. I think history shows that receiver's the one position where you don't necessarily have to find them high in the draft. But I know we'll set the draft board up based on value and hope we're getting great value at every pick. Yeah, that's something I know I filled out the survey on. Our staff was a little bit mixed on it when it's something that's that subjective. But I know we'll get into a lot more discussion down at the owners' meetings on that as coaches.